Welcome to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm your host and speaking coach, Deborah Deras, known as the top Latina peak performance speaker. This podcast is here to support you with strategies and best practices of paid speakers so you can find out what works and what doesn't, so you can achieve success with ease and grace in your speaking career. Enjoy the show. Are you always on the road speaking and your house is all alone collecting dust? Wouldn't it be nice to make some passive income while you're out speaking on the road? Well, I do. Want to know my secret? Airbnb. I use Airbnb to make some extra cash to reinvest in marketing for my speaking business. It's so simple. You just set up a listing and voila, you come home to money in your bank account on top of what you already made speaking. If you want to know more, go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com to get all the information. And welcome back to another great episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now show. I am super excited about our guest. You know how when you start a podcast and you have a list of people that are like your dream guests and you really want them on your show, and then you ask them over and over again and they're busy and they're speaking, and then finally they say yes? Well, that's today, friends, because we have an amazing guest who is a 3-time best-selling author, award-winning entrepreneur, sales expert, and her name is Ursula Mentjes. She will transform the way you think about selling so you can reach your goals with less anxiety and less effort. She is the founder of Sales Coach Now, as well as an inspirational speaker, author of Selling with Intention that I have right here by my side. Don't leave home without it. Selling with Synchronicity, One Great Goal, and The Belief Zone. Ursula specializes in neuro-linguistic programming to help clients double and triple their sales in as little as 30 days. Honing her skills at an international technical training company where she began her career in 1996. Ursula increased sales by 90% in just 1 year, eventually becoming president of the company at the age of 27, when the revenue was in the tens of millions. Please help me welcome my special guest, Ursula.
Woohoo! I'm so excited to be here, Deborah.
I know, I'm so excited because like I was telling you, your podcast is one of my favorite podcasts out there. Give a plug for your podcast. Tell them about what your podcast name.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for that amazing introduction. You're very kind. You're very sweet. I'm super honored to be here. As you and I have talked about, I'm an accidental speaker. So the fact that you wanted to interview me is a big deal. So thank you. My podcast is called Double Your Sales Now. And one of these days, we're going to have you on my show. I'd love to have you and talk about how you've grown this business. I can see you're doing some pretty clever things. And Double Your Sales Now is it's really just that. It's about how to double your sales by shifting your beliefs, your limiting beliefs, and by creating your dream business. It's a lot of fun. We have people listening from all over the world now. So thank you.
And your guests are just stellar. Like her guests are like off the chain. I'm on the treadmill. That's when I like to listen to your show. And I'm like, oh my God, I just learned how to reverse into my sales goals. And it's just so awesome. And I'm so grateful that you're on the show. And how I first met you, I don't know if you remember, I was the MC at a conference where you were speaking. And I spoke like 3 times that day. And your backdrop was behind me and I had like videos. So in my reel that's been on my website for like 3 years was you. And you were always subconsciously in the back of my mind. And I think it was the universe saying, you need this woman in your life. She's going to be your sales coach and she is going to be a transformational person for all the people that are listening today. So why don't you tell them the story of how you started as a salesperson, how you became the unexpected speaker. I know people want to hear it.
Sure. So I'm a farm kid from southern Minnesota, and I'm back in Minnesota now, but I was in California for 16 amazing years, and I miss you all so much. And it's good. Minnesota's been great too, but I grew up in southern Minnesota, and I thought I was going to be on the farm forever. I was one of those farm kids who loved animals and loved the farm life. But my parents said, go to college and get a good job. Right. So I did. I went to the closest school I could find, a local school called St. Olaf, and I majored in psychology and communication, which when I got done, I was like, what can I do with this? And I didn't know. So I worked at Pure One Imports and I made $6.25 an hour. And then one day I was like, I'd really like to go to law school because I think then I could start my own law practice. And that just seemed like a good thing, like a kind of a logical next step, what I should do. And so as fate would have it, though, the shoulds sometimes get shifted. And my friend Jana came to me one day. Jana was an econ major and a good friend of mine from St. Olaf. She was also working at Pure One Imports. And she said, Urs, because that's what she called me. She's like, Urs, I have an opportunity for us. And I'm like, ooh, I love that. Mm-hmm. And I said, what's that? And she said, she said, my aunt and uncle just sold their company. They live in Boulder, Colorado. They're empty nesters. They said we could come out and live with them. And she said, I also talked to the manager at the Pure One Imports in Boulder and our manager here, and they said they would transfer us. So of course I was like, yeah, I'm all in. So the two of us moved to Boulder, Colorado, which is magical in itself. And we got to move in with our aunt and uncle who had this beautiful home in the foothills of Boulder. And I started working at Pure One there with Jana. And one day I was talking to Jana's uncle, this amazing entrepreneur named Will, and he kind of asked me, like, what are your plans? And I told him I want to go to law school. And he encouraged me to get a job in outside sales because he said, it'll help you pay for law school. And once you become a salesperson, especially an outside salesperson, he said, there's nothing you won't be able to do. Like, you'll be unstoppable. Well, that sounded good to me. I didn't know about the rest of it, but I said, well, what's my first step? And he said, well, what you need to do is get your resume ready and send it to me. Got the resume ready. But before I could even send it to him, I was working at Pure One day, and this woman came through wearing a nice business suit. She and I started chatting. She worked for an international computer training and consulting company. She asked me what I was doing. I said, I'm looking for a job in outside sales. And she said, well, guess what? We're hiring. And the long and short of it, it's a longer story. It's in my book, One Great Goal. But the long and short of it is that I started this job in outside sales. I really hated everything about selling. Everything. It was so awful. So I bought every book I could on sales and selling from Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling.
My favorite.
One of my mentors now. He's amazing. Yeah, it's the best book ever. The Sales Bible by Jeffrey Gitomer, all the books by Zig Ziglar, anything I could find to stay motivated. And then I found this book by the now late Dr. Wayne Dyer called The Power of Intention, and changed my life.
I love
because I started to become intentional in the sales process, and everything shifted. So within 5 years, I went from an outside salesperson to president of a $20 million company by the time I was 27. And I share that with you not to say, look at me, look what I did. I share it with you because through the school of pain and hard knocks, I learned how to sell. I learned how to make it much easier. And after we sold that company, I thought, what am I going to do? And I was highly unemployable by that point. And one day a recruiter said, why don't you just start your own company? Kind of flippantly, because they were kind of tired of me turning down offers. And I thought, well, maybe that is the next step. And so I did. I haven't looked back since. And I've had coaching companies, and I've had Sales Coach Now in the way it is now since 2009, helping thousands of entrepreneurs. Now we can say around the world, because of the podcast, really move through their limiting beliefs so that they can increase their sales. And it's just been a crazy journey. So what happened, the speaking part, which is really funny because I have glossophobia. And if you can Google it, I didn't know it was a thing. I learned about it when I was a psych major. Glossophobia is the deep, deep, deep fear of public speaking, like petrified to get on stage. Wow. And from the 9th grade, I couldn't even read a paragraph in front of the room. I mean, I would shake. It was awful. I was sweating. I couldn't talk. I thought I was going to pass out. I'd have a panic attack. I mean, bad. And so I had to go through therapy, and I became an NLP certified coach. And I worked with energy healers. I did so much work because I knew I needed to overcome this fear of speaking. I knew it was holding me back. And then I had this breakthrough one time, and I had done a lot of the work, but someone said to me one time when I was about to go on stage, they said, Ursula, it's really not about you. Mm-hmm. I thought, what? Of course it's about me. I have to get on stage. I have to speak. I have to prepare. I have to look at the people in the audience. And they said, no, it's about the people you're here to serve. And the sooner you get over yourself, the better. was kind of like the kick in the pants that I needed to stop being so internal and start to look at the impact I could really make through speaking. And that was a big turning point for me. But it wasn't until probably even 5 years ago, and I've been doing this, I don't know, like more than 15 years now, where I really got comfortable in front of the audience. In the early days of my business, I was asked to speak all the time, and I didn't want to. It wasn't like I had put a speaker one sheet together, but people just kept asking me to speak on selling with intention because I talked about it when I was out networking, and I had like a one sheet on it. And so at that point, that's when I finally wrote my first book, Selling with Intention. By the way, the draft of that was terrible. It's taken many editors and like 3 editions to get it where it is today. And then I was asked all the time. So I am an accidental speaker, but here's the important thing for your listeners. The calling was bigger than my fear. And I look back on that now and it's like, I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, I don't have a choice. It's like this pull, this calling to share the message, because my mission is to help entrepreneurs and sales professionals make a lot of money so they can give back to the organizations they care about and live a great life. Because I know that's what we want. That's what entrepreneurs want.
I love that. I love that. And it's not about us. We're here to be of service and transform the world. That's why, I don't know if you know, the tagline for the podcast is "You are the messenger for the message." And I always say it's through us, not from us. I could never be a speaker if it was from me. It'd be too much pressure.
I always say that it's divine downloads. It's
yes.
Totally
do you know, I say that my newsletter is called Deb's Divine Downloads. Yeah, when I read your book and I saw that you said divine downloads, I'm like, oh, she's my people. We're in the vortex together.
We are. Oh, so true.
Yes, yes. And I did NLP training too. And that's how I was able to quit my job, because all of the limiting beliefs that said I couldn't be an entrepreneur, I couldn't be a business owner, when we were getting our certification, we practiced on each other. So by the time I was done with my 3 weeks training, they were gone. It was awesome.
That's such a blessing. We did too. I cried through like 4 weeks of NLP training though. It was so powerful. It was amazing though. Yeah. When you got to practice on each other, you got to blow through all those limiting beliefs. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I'd love to talk a little bit about your book, Selling with Synchronicity, because when I read it, like I was just going to scan it because I had recommended it to some coaching clients, and I can't recommend something I don't read. And then I turned one page and then the other page, and I was like, this is genius. My first mastermind group that I ever had in 2005 was on the book, The Power of Intention. And I said, if I ever do another mastermind book, it's going to be on your book, Selling with Synchronicity, because you talk about alignment in your book. Can you talk about what is selling with synchronicity and why it's so important for speakers to know how to do that?
Yeah, at a high level, synchronicity, just the word, was coined by Carl Jung, and he talked about having meaningful coincidence. And my belief is that when you're really clear on your goals and they're in alignment with you, meaning that they don't feel like a should, they don't feel forced, they're not someone else's goals, they're truly yours. Like they feel like divine downloads, so to speak. When you have that alignment, then the easiest way to say it is the next step always shows up. It's just, it's flow, it's ease. And you have to, and this is so important. And I feel like I've gotten this more and more over the last year even, but you have to pay attention to what's showing up for you. So often we're in a chase. And by the way, if you're watching this, you can see I have a cast on right now, and it's still a lesson I'm learning because I move really fast. And I've had to learn to really slow it down, both in how fast I move physically and how fast my thoughts move. Because I know when I slow down and I don't try to make something happen, it just happens because I'm following the inspired action that's in front of me. Now I've known this. Does it mean I always follow this? Clearly no. But it's what I want to share. I really want your listeners to hear that piece of like what is showing up in front of you right now, because that's a big clue. And to follow that next step, even if it's outside of your comfort zone. And so for me, that's what selling with synchronicity is. It's like, finding that goal, having that clear business goal, and then taking the next steps that are in front of you that feel inspired and in alignment.
I love it. And I love how you talk about without the anxiety and effort, because my book that I wrote is called Confessions of an Adrenaline Addict, How to Achieve more with less effort. And when I would go to speak to certain corporations, they would see the word less effort. They're like, what is this? Less effort. We want our people to have more effort. And we live in such a society that's masculine dominated that it's like no pain, no gain, put the axe to the grindstone. And if you're not suffering, you're not working hard enough. And that's not the program we're on. When you're on the synchronicity, intention, alignment program, it is flow, following that next step and go to that next step. What practical steps can you give our listeners so that they feel like they're taking that inspired action, but they're not just sitting and waiting for things to happen, but they're co-creating things?
Yeah, it's such a good question. I was just listening to Brian Tracy yesterday. I have his old CDs in my car. I have still a CD player in my car so I can listen to those. And he was talking about how, and you've heard this before, that, no millionaire is self-made. No, there just are no self-made millionaires. Everybody has support. And the biggest lesson for me in this space, even when my business was first getting started, was to lean into the people around me, to ask for help and to get the support. That's how things happen fast. Right. So once you get that idea, don't try to do it all yourself. That's where the ease and grace comes in. Now in my team, I do a few things well. I love speaking. I love doing podcasts. I love being interviewed. I love interviewing people. I love training. I love coaching, writing. The rest of it though, like the back end and running the rest of the business, I don't have time. It's just not my thing. And I have amazing people who surround me and do it. And I have a virtual team of probably, I think we're at 12 people doing different things and supporting us in a different way. When I don't lean into them, things take me forever. When I remember I have a team, I lean into them. But it's also in my personal life. Who do I lean into? Even, breaking my wrist has forced me to lean into so many people in my personal life. And it was such a good lesson. Okay, I'm getting the lessons because I don't want to break another bone, that's for sure. But it's that piece, Deborah, for me of really asking for help and receiving it that allows me to move fast. We don't get there alone. So who can you lean into?
I love it. And I love how you said the power of slowing down. When I was out of alignment in my early career, I kept spraining my ankle. And it was like I was trying to move forward at a pace that was faster than it was supposed to be. And I had to say this affirmation that I'm in the right place at the right time with the right people to allow my divine talents to be of service and be abundantly paid. Because there was to be abundantly paid to best serve the world. That's my affirmation. But there was a time where I was just to best serve the world and I wasn't getting paid for the speaking engagements what I was worth. And as a speaking coach, I see a lot of my clients are oftentimes where they're not asking for the fees they deserve. How did you learn how to set your fees as a speaker and to grow and double your sales in the speaking industry?
Yeah, it was tough. So I spoke for free for many, many years, but I sold at the back of the room and from the stage, and that was powerful. And I knew, and that led to clients, and I know that side of the business. Being a paid keynote speaker or being paid for speaking at corporations was very different. And one of my mentors taught me early on, she said, Ursula, you have to establish your worth and your price point, like what you're willing to ask for. Mm-hmm. And of course I was just lowballing it. And she said, you've got to get your speaking fees up. So for me, Deborah, it's been years of hiring, coaches and mentors and other support people like you, to help really hold the belief until I could get there.
Yes.
And now I know I can command 20,000. Does it happen every day? No, not yet. Right. But that for me, that's next level. But I have examples in my life of people who they get it all the time, 30,000 and more. And the fact that I've been hanging out with these people for a while also helps. So part of it is who are you surrounding yourself with? Exactly. Who is mentoring you? In the speaker world, I think one of the secrets of the speaker world right now is that the sweet spot is 5,000 to 10,000. That's a sweet spot. And so I know that even people who are pricing themselves 20 to 30,000, sometimes they take less if it's leading to a bigger opportunity. So being willing to negotiate and being flexible is really important. But for me, it was in the beginning, I had to name that price. And one of the best pieces of advice that another mentor gave me was to establish that price point, but be willing to negotiate backwards. So Let's say your price point is 10,000. and they say, well, our budget is only 8,000. Well, that's great. You know what? I really want to work with you. I'll take 8,000. How can we make up that additional 2,000 in marketing or in some other way? And it's one of the most powerful tips I was ever given in terms of negotiating speaking payments.
I love it. Yeah, I love how you talk about the power. And I think you mentioned in the Selling with Synchronicity book, one of the points about, finding your tribe and the positive people. I always talk about synergy and collaborating. My first mentor is, I don't know if you know her, Pagine Echevarria. She's out of Florida, and she was really active with the National Speakers Association. And she actually put me on stage in front of my first 1,000-person crowd. And she was like, you can do it. Awesome. And even to this day, when like this agency approached me, she told me what fee to say, what to pay for my sizzle reel. It's just, we need to have the willingness and the humility to ask for help and to know that there are people out there that will coach us. And that's what this podcast is all about, is that giving those resources. So what are some, you mentioned that you had a team of 12 people. I was just feeling great to have 2 people. I'm like, I'm so happy to have these 2 people because I have no patience to do my newsletter, even though I know I need to do it. I have no patience for doing my optimization of my website or my YouTube or whatever. So I delegate that. What are some systems that speakers need in place to have consistent, steady, and abundant income?
Yeah. Well, let me clarify something first. My 12-person team, they're not full-time. They're part-time, very siloed in their gifts, and I want to keep it that way. I've had big W-2 teams, not where I want to be, doesn't give me the flexibility I want. I think that's a very personal decision. So know who and what you need on your team. As far as systems and processes, they've grown over the years, and so you kind of just have to start where you are. I've been doing a newsletter or an e-zine, whatever you want to call it, since I launched my business. So it was really bad in the beginning, but I got it out there, and we get it out every single month, and then we send other things. And some people would say that's like old fashioned, but I had a really good speaker friend of mine just email me lately, and she's like, you have inspired me to get my e-zine out again. I thought, well, that's great. So, you have to do what's in alignment with you. For us, doing a regular newsletter is powerful. We send out our podcast emails twice a month. We have 2 podcasts. We send out invitations if, we use Infusionsoft. So if people are tagged to receive a certain kind of marketing or email or asked to receive something, then they receive it. And so I think it's so important to have not only the team, but the right software in place to support the business in the best way possible. And part of what my team does is they're constantly on top of like, is this the best software for us now? Is this the best process? Is this the best system? Another coach on my team, Rebecca Hall, who helps coach our clients, she's an expert in systems and process. So I'm kind of spoiled because she's always like recommending changes because I don't usually think like that's not how my brain works. And so having people around you and your team to ask them, does the system work? I heard another coach once say, do it, delegate it, or delete it. Sometimes still doing things that we don't need to do anymore. And so evaluate what works and what doesn't work, but start with simple systems. Like what is somebody doing over and over again that you could systematize and make it easier, or maybe put even a shortcut in place.
I love it. I always talk about the 3D program, do it, delegate it, and delete it. And I literally had to take some things off my list. Not that it's deleted forever, but it's like it weighs on you if you're not getting it done. So you talked about something that I think a lot of speakers that are listening want to know more about, which is the back of the room sales, which could be your book or it could be, coaching program or webinars. Any strategies to be successful at back of the room sales?
Yes. So a couple things. I used to lug books everywhere, and then I realized I wasn't serving people at the highest level. And here's why. We offer live classes, some for free, some for fee, depending on, where we are in the year. And if people are in my city and I'm seeing them eyeball to eyeball and we have an event coming up in that city, I don't want to sell them a book because it's not going to, most people aren't like you, Deborah. They're not going to read and implement like you do. And so I stopped selling books at my events unless I was contracted to do it. Right. Now, there's some places where I'll be paid a speaker fee and they'll say, we're going to pay for 200 books as well. And let's do a book signing at the end, or bring 50 books and please sell them at the event. Different. But for free speaking, like I don't know. That's just my opinion. It kind of depends on how your business is structured and what you're selling. If you're a full-time author and you don't sell anything else, yeah, then you're going to want to bring your books. But otherwise, I would think about like, what are you actually selling? What's your client funnel? What are you leading them to do?
Exactly. And that's the key, having that clear call to action and knowing what you're funneling people into. And that's why I can't wait to read Selling with Intention. I literally have been carrying it with me in my car because I'm like, if I get 15 minutes in between before I shoot my sizzle reel later today, I'm going to read a chapter, because one thing I love about your books, and I know I'm going to love when I come to your boot camp, which I want to talk about, is that it's so practical. It's not just, inner alignment, but it's also how to reverse engineer your goal to double your sales. So can you talk a little bit about what you teach at your courses and how people double their sales in 30 days?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for asking. So we start with mindset and belief. And because here's the thing, I can teach you or your listeners sales strategy all day long. But if you're stuck on a limiting belief, one that might be a blind spot for you, you might not even be aware of it, which we help you uncover. It doesn't matter how much strategy you know or what, even if you know how to say, because you'll never do it because you're stuck over here. Exactly. So we start with limiting belief changes. Like our whole morning is about shifting a major limiting belief, like whatever is keeping you stuck about selling. Then the afternoon of day one, we actually create your 90-day plan and we reverse engineer your goal. Most of our clients who come in, they want to double their sales. So that's the number we work on in 90 days. And of course, it's easier for someone in a service-based business to do a double than it is maybe for a manufacturing company. So, I mean, there's that differentiator. And we've had people in just about every industry come in. So it kind of depends on how large your company is and, how fast you can grow it, et cetera. After that, we work on sales scripting. So we actually help you write an authentic sales conversation to ask for an appointment. For most people, they start selling too early in a relationship. So we show you how to do it, what to say, and how to have that sales conversation. The next day you come in, we role play your scripts and help you get really clear on how to get that appointment. You get feedback from people in the room, which is really powerful because these are people that you might actually sell to. So they help you construct not only a message, not only a script to get an appointment, but we show you how to leave a voicemail that actually gets you a call back, which then practice in the room. So you bring real people to call, which is really fun. And we see real results immediately. So what's really important to me is that people learn something, they implement it, they get it in the muscle so they can do it Monday morning when they're by themselves. And at the end of the day, we work on closing the sale. I walk you through an easy 5-step process on how to close the sale. And I can't tell you, Deborah, how many people are like, how did I not ever know this? Well, the truth is selling is a skill. It's just like speaking is a skill. We don't learn it for the most part, we don't learn how to speak, be a paid professional speaker in high school, college, unless it's a certain class that I'm not aware of. And we definitely don't learn how to sell. There's I think there's one program, at least in Minnesota, that one college that has a degree in only selling, not sales and marketing, just selling. So anyway, so take the shame out of selling. It's a skill. You learn how to do it. We show people 5 steps to close a sale. And for most people, it just blows their minds, which is fun for me to see. And we close out the deal with how to scale your business. So there's so much packed in 2 days. I mean, we just get so much positive feedback on how it changes people's lives, their businesses, and their income streams.
I love it. I can't wait to go. I'm so excited. I was like, November, San Diego, here I come. So excited to go and to learn from you. It sounds fantastic. And sales is simply a conversation. And as speakers, we need to love it. Whatever limiting beliefs that we have, we need to get over it, because you could be the best speaker in the world, but if people don't know about you and they're not hiring you, what's the point, right? And I love how you talk about getting people on the phone. I was coaching someone and they said that they were making calls. I'm like, you really called? And they were like, no, we emailed. I was like, emailing is not, they were millennial. I'm like, it's not the same as calling. You actually pick up the phone, you dial a number. So I love how you're old school calling people. That is fantastic, because I know as a speaker that anytime I would get a lead incoming, that if I would call them back within 24 hours, 95% of the time, maybe 99% of the time, I would get the gig. And if it was only through email, those were the gigs that I didn't get. when they didn't have me on the phone. So being on the phone is so important because if you're a speaker, people need to feel your energy. They need to feel your vibration, see that you're a match. And without being on the phone, I don't know how you do it. So
Right.
how can people stay in touch with you so they can find out and get on your newsletter? I am reading your newsletter. You inspired me to restart my newsletter. So thank you very much.
Good. Yay. Well, thank you. So you go to, you can go to salescoachnow.com/gift. And that's a great way to get on our list and also to get a free download. It's 6 secrets to double your sales. It's just a fun PDF to get you started. From there, we have a free event coming up in California. And if someone's watching this and they have to be in Minnesota, we also have a free event here coming up. And you go to salescoachnow /7 strategies. So that's salescoachnow.com/7 and then strategies. And that's a free half-day event that'll be in San Diego on October 16th. So Deborah, you're welcome to come to that and come and play there. And then Sales Camp is at the end of November. And if you just go to salescoachnow.com, scroll to the bottom, and there's a little Sales Camp icon. You can see more there. But most people like to come out to a free event, get to know us a little bit, and make sure it's a fit. So that's salescoachnow.com /7 strategies. And that's October 16th. We'd love to see you out there.
Ooh, and I'll put all of this information in our show notes. Do you know that Minnesota is one of my favorite places to speak? I've been to Mankato many times. I was just talking.
Gosh.
Yeah, at Minnesota State University, purple and gold.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't know that.
Also,
That's
Prince
awesome.
is from there, so it's my favorite town. So I want to thank you so much. I know this was long overdue. I'm so grateful to have you here. And I'm so grateful that all of you got to listen to all these words of wisdom. Ursula is awesome, and she will help you double your sales. Listen to her podcast, get on her newsletter, and remember what she said when it comes to speaking. It's not about you. Your ego is not your amigo. It's about being the messenger for the message. And when you do that and you take that one next step, she said, that's what synchronicity is. Following your divine downloads, taking that one next step, and you'll be guided to the next one. Your career will open up and expand, and it'll be fun. What Ursula and I have in common, and all my guests do, is we're on the Success with Ease and Grace program. We align for success, and I invite you to do the same. And remember, with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Thank you for tuning into the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. If you want to be a paid speaker right now, you can download the 5 steps to get started as a paid speaker right on my website. Just go to deborahderas.com/speak now. And remember, with the power of synergy, anything is possible.